Let's talk about the fact that Parliament is back and back for the next couple of weeks. Corey, what's your sense about the next couple of weeks and either what the government needs to do to try to change conversation or Labor's ability? I mean, they're trying to sort of, again, use ministerial discretion around funding, this time on infrastructure, to set up a pattern of behaviour. Frankly, a system that has ministerial discretion means ministers make decisions about where money goes. But all of that is going to be put to one side as if it is somehow abnormal under this government. But if the government is good enough, they should be able to use much of what we've talked about tonight as the thing to be talking about all day, every day.
This is exactly right, Paul. Your first point is correct in that we have a ministerial Westminster system of government because we don't want bureaucrats unilaterally making decisions. That's what they did in the European Union, and it's a disaster. So ministers can make decisions, and the government can turn it back on Labor and simply say, well, which one of these infrastructure projects are you saying you wouldn't participate in? Which one of these sporting associations you wouldn't be supporting? You can pick the victims yourselves. You name them, and Labor will shut up pretty quickly. But this interview with Anthony Albanese today is manna from heaven for the government, and if they have the temerity to pursue it, and that's the criteria, because remember, you've got these modern liberals in there who want to embrace the whole climate change myth and the green dream, and they can make life difficult. But if the Prime Minister has his mettle and the Treasurer can stack up the economics properly, and they can get some attack dogs going after Anthony Albanese, they will do enormous damage to him and the Labor Party.
But also, Liz Story, you know how this works, which is that, all you've got to do is get one lefty Liberal to go on Radio National and say something mildly off script. That's it. The gallery's got their story for the day because they're invested in the narrative of the government is shaking about. Now, normal people can see past that BS, but sadly, these people are in charge of trying to tell people what's going on in the world, and they've got an awful lot of microphones and way bigger platforms than mine to do it in.
Indeed, the media love a good turmoil story, don't they? When things are going well, there's nothing to report on, Paul, so you gotta don't let the truth get in the way of a good story. Isn't that like the journo's first line of work?
Yeah, all right. Now, I think there's going to be a news poll, and that may well be part of the conversation that'll be around tomorrow. Senator, what will the Senate be dealing with? Are you any closer, do you think, to getting to a final resolution, final vote on things like the union regulations?
Well, from my perspective, Paul, we can't bring that legislation back quick enough into the Senate. I think that's absolutely crucial as a reform so we can get the cost of infrastructure down in this country. I mean, there's that extra 30% impost on every piece of material infrastructure we build in this country because of the lawlessness of the construction division of the CFMEU. So I'm passionate about that. But you know what we deal with tomorrow morning? We've got two members' bills from the Greens pushing their radical extinction rebellion type philosophy. So it's from our perspective, it's the perfect way to start the week. As I said, it's like deja vu all over again. We've got Albo's new policy. You talk about Jedi mind trick. I think it's like a Death Star, potential Death Star to the Australian economy. And we've got the Greens pushing an even more radical agenda.
But it's this thing, Corey, where, again, when you know that the professional observers are trying to set out a narrative, they'll bend everything they can so it fits into the narrative, right? So if somebody says something here on Sky News that questions the narrative, they say, oh, the audience is too small, doesn't matter, not part of the real news world, keep moving on. But when 97% of people don't listen to Radio National, but if it pops up there on Greens Radio, oh, it's front and centre, it's legitimate, that's about as mainstream as it gets.
Paul, we all know that the media, the press gallery in particular, but most of the media leans left. They keep their jobs for their own mates, and so-called impartial political journalists are cheerleaders in many occasions. And what happens in the gallery? It's the only place in the world, I think, where the media are fully and permanently camped out within Parliament House, and groupthink takes it from one end of the gallery and rushes up to the other end before they're all competing to out-left each other on a story. And it's pretty shameful, actually.